number one. Let's see how this goes. We're going to have two cameras going, which I will try to splice together later on how that's going to go. Going for a spin in the 59 Pontiac. I've got my old phone on the side of the car. That way, if it blows off, I'm just missing an old camera, not a phone that people will call and text me on. So, anyway, here we go. Roll through the neighborhood in the 59 Pontiac. This car, I've had this thing for about 2 years. Bought it from the grandson of the original owner, and waving to all the folk in the neighborhood. Bought it from the grandson of the original owner. This car was bought in Mattoon in May of 1959 by a fellow named Clifford McMichaels, and his grandson is the fellow I bought it from. The grandson in 59, he'd have been about 9 or 10 years old, saw this car sitting in Bonneville Pontiac showroom in Mattoon. He knew his granddad was looking for a car. His grandfather had a 4-door, 6-cylinder automatic 58 Chevy that he said was so slow it was a menace to traffic when it was on the highway. He was looking for something with a bit more power. This car, in 1959, it was a fast car. Corvettes weren't that big on horsepower in 59. This car weighed about 4,000 pounds and has a 300 horsepower, 389 four-barrel dual exhaust engine. And first year for the Pontiac 389 that we ran from now until 66 with varying horsepower is the engine they put in the first GTOs. So it's a stout engine and puts out a good amount of horsepower and torque. This car would have been a rocket ship after that guy climbed out of that 6-cylinder 4-door Chevy with an automatic, 2-speed automatic that would have been a menace to traffic because it was so slow. So 1959, this was a really cool car, and it still is. I remember seeing this car, and I go back and forth in time. I grew up in Mattoon, as most of you know, and I remember seeing this car when I was 17, 18 years old. And in the late 70s, it wasn't 20 years old yet, but it looked like a freaking spaceship. There wasn't anything that looked like this. In the 70s, I mean, this was after growing up, through the 60s and seeing all those cars. But I read a road test of this 59 Pontiac. It was a Star Chief, I think, which was a trim level below this. And fall of 58, these car people drove to Michigan, Pontiac, Michigan, where this car was built, and picked up a new 59 Pontiac and drove it to California and back. And this car was such a wild departure from the 58s. These things are lower and wider by a lot from a 58, 57, 56, obviously. But it looked like no other car on the road, and a lot of GM cars did of that era. But I think the 59 Pontiacs are the most distinctive of the bunch because I'm a Pontiac guy. But they said that they should fall 58. They're driving across country, and stop and get gas, and people that look at this car, they couldn't have been more astounded or surprised that an alien spaceship landed from Mars, is what they said. So, anyway, it's a unique car, and it's a fast car. It still will run 70, 80 miles an hour with incredible ease, and the engine's never been apart. And just as a quick sidebar, this car's got the paint's original, the interior's original, except for the floor mats. It's a nice, solid car, and it's just a joy to drive. I drive it a lot. In the summertime, there's not a week goes by that it doesn't get at least 30 or 40 miles on it. So, I remember seeing this car, and I forget about it. 30 years go by, and 59 Pontiacs are not something that quite comes to mind. And the fellow that owned it is friends with my neighbor across the street, and I kind of knew him, but I was in the garage a couple of years ago, shift linkage on the 68 GTO, which there'll be a video of that come along soon. And Dave comes over, chit-chatting, he's asking me about the GTO. He says, I think I might get the old 59 out, clean it up, and sell it. And we were talking, and the wheels started turning, and the more he told me about this car, and I hadn't seen it in 30 years, and I'd kind of gotten reminded that, he had it. I thought, man, I need a 59 Pontiac like I need another hole in my head, but it's basically a one-owner car that's all original with 60,000 miles on it. It's black with a red interior, and it's a coupe. Had it been like a light green four-door, I'd have probably not been as enamored with it. So, hang on, I'm going to do a camera check. Okay, make sure that the camera hadn't fallen off the side of the car. Anyway, because if I was ordering a Pontiac Bonneville in 59, I could have very well this been the color I picked. Although they had some beautiful colors that year. And the interiors, 3, 4, 5 different colors with 3 different colors of upholstery inside. But this one is code 278. It's mahogany, maroon, and ivory. And so anyway, I probably would have gotten the tri-power engine. This is a 300 horse engine, which is standard on the Bonneville. They had 3 engines more powerful than this in 1959, up to 330 horsepower, 345 horsepower with 3 carburetors. And they ran these cars at NASCAR. Fireball Roberts, which is a great name for a NASCAR driver, raced one of these in the 59 Daytona 500. I don't think he won, but he was in the top 3. Ironically, Fireball was killed in a fiery crash in a Pontiac I think it was in Darlington in about 1961, which I guess you got a name like Fireball, you'll have that. Anyway, so it's a fast car. So Dave's talking, I'm thinking, oh man, I need that car like I need a hole in my head. And I said, let me think about that. I don't really think he said it. He didn't bring it up with the thoughts of me buying it. Maybe he did. I don't know. We were just kind of talking. And so, I don't know. We talked. I went out and looked at the car, came up with a price. I probably paid too much for it, but how do you gauge something like that? And came to my house on a trailer. Some of you have seen that video. And I spent 90 days and about $6,000 getting it from where it was when it came in to what you see now. A car that I want to have a car that I can get in, start up, and drive, and be safe. So it's got new shocks, brakes, tires, exhaust, fuel tank, fuel lines, belts, hoses, points, plug, condenser. The list goes on and on. If you're going to buy a 60-year-old car and expect to climb in it and drive it on a regular basis, you've got to do all that shit, because more so than mileage, age will get to some of the components on these. I've had to replace transmission seals, pinion seals in the rear end. I need to replace the engine seals because it leaks some oil in the garage. But if you don't do that, you'll get in it one day and it'll leave you along the side of the road. And that's never any fun. So, so I did all that, and there were times, as some of my friends know, that I was pretty discouraged. There was a point where I just couldn't get it. It wouldn't run. It'd start up and it would idle, or it would go wide open, but anywhere in the middle, it just wouldn't do it. And I had chased down, cleaned, replaced, rebuilt everything from the gas caps to the carburetor jets. And I knew it was a fuel problem, but I couldn't get it sorted. Turned out I had sucked in some rust when I was in the process of working on it and driving it. I'd sucked some rust somewhere into one of the small orifices of the carburetor. And I checked it, blew air pressure through it and all that. Finally, I had to replace the carburetor, which I hated to do because that was the carburetor that came on the car. And the one I've got's a correct carburetor, but it's not the carburetor. It's a small item, but us car people, part of this thing, it's a time capsule. There's things I could replace on this car with modern components that might make it more reliable, more drivable, but I like the be period correct with it. It's like climbing this car, it's 1959 or as close as I can get it. So, so I put a carburetor on it. One of the things I like about this car, and all my old cars actually, is the mechanicality of it. I don't know if that's even a word, but you're closer to, it doesn't have anti-lock brakes, it doesn't have traction control, it doesn't have computerized engine control where it always idles and runs perfect all the time. It is, it's the way they were in 1959. You're closer to the road, you're closer to the engine, you're closer to all that stuff, and it requires, you got to pay attention. It requires more work. But I kind of like that. I've got a new truck that insulates me well from the road, and that's where I put most of the miles on, but I like the, it kind of stutters and coughs when it's cold, and the steering, you can feel it more. You can tell if the engine needs a set of spark plugs or this or that. That's just part of the charm. But so I got all that done. I've got two sets of wheels and tires on. You saw in the pictures right now. I've got the wide white wall tires on it and the black wheels. The black wheels are the ones it was built with. I had them, they were kind of rough. I had them sandblasted and powder coated black. I don't know if it's the right black, but black's kind of black. If it's off, it ain't off by much. And I've still got the original wheel cover. Some people are giving me grief about that. It's like, I've got them. I could pop the trim rings off, put the wheel covers on it in just a minute, have it back to stock. And but I got that, and I've got a set of red lines and chrome wheels where I bolt them on and off from time to time. And see if I can move this, get a shot of the back. Yeah, the back seat of this thing's fabulous. Maybe I'll have this camera angle. What do you think? I don't know. I kind of like the dash. Yeah, I kind of like this. But it's a joy to drive. It'll stay up with modern traffic real easy. And of course, I've replaced the shocks on it. Other driveline components, so it'll run down the road 70, 80 miles an hour and hold the road. Amazingly enough, it doesn't get very good gas mileage. About 11 miles a gallon if I take it easy, and if I don't take it easy, it gets about 11 miles a gallon. So it really doesn't make any damn difference how I do. It burns about the same amount of gas because it's just overcoming. It's not aerodynamic, but it's pretty. It's gonna be a warm day if it doesn't rain. Anyway. Get a motorcycle back in the garage. I gotta see if I can edit this shit. This is gonna be an adventure. I'd rather change plugs and tune this thing up than try to edit these two freaking videos. What I need to do is find about a 10-year-old kid and have him do it because they'd figure it out in short order.